This is the Treu Real Estate 911 podcast with Lisa Treu. Lisa will share up-to-date real estate information with you that you need to know.
Welcome to Treu Real Estate 911. It's Brian Mudd along with your local real estate pro, Lisa Treu. And you know the expression, life happens. Life can be stressful enough without outside influences and events that cause it to be that much more stressful, but we know that life happens. And so when we're taking a look at what can already be a very stressful process, Lisa's going to walk us through how we can handle some difficult circumstances when real estate is involved. Before we get started, if you're not already there, go to TreuRealEstate911.com. It's TreuRealEstate911.com. Best local resource you're going to find for real estate. Once you get there, it'll all make sense to you. The ability to search the MLS in real time like a pro. You have the ability to get great information, the videos that Treus have up there, along with some of the advice about how the local real estate market is working right now. And the Treus are always ready to answer your questions, too. Reach out to them, 561-972-8326. It's 561-972-8326. Lisa, before we get going, how is the real estate market looking as we're heading down the backstretch of summer at this point?
We are still seeing some really great activity. However, we're noticing the luxury market. And when I'm talking luxury, we're not talking ultra luxury. We're talking from about $600,000 to about $1,250,000. That price range is struggling a bit out there. We're seeing inventory growing. We're seeing more options for buyers, and therefore days on market's increasing for sellers, and prices are settling a bit.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, even on the luxury side, because everything will kind of get locked in together. We had recently the most expensive property to ever sell on Palm Beach sell. Well, that can paper over a lot of other luxury properties that are far less expensive, right?
Oh, for sure. When you start talking about those big numbers, it really impacts, obviously, the average numbers of things, right? And yet what we're doing is breaking it down, looking at it the way a buyer would look at it in kind of price points and saying, okay, if a buyer's in a luxury product from 6 to 8, what is happening in that market versus saying all luxury properties, anything over, let's say, $1 million.
So the opportunity, just thinking out loud here, is definitely still that move up buy. If you're looking to sell something in the more affordable end, especially if you're financing with the super low interest rate environment, and that's where the buyer's market is entry-level luxury, that seems to be a good play.
We're having many of our clients sell their property in, as you said, a very hot seller's market, getting multiple offers, driving the prices up, and then moving to the home that they thought they couldn't afford before because the difference between where they are and where they want to go has diminished a bit, which is great news. And even though they can get more for their home, the step up buy is more competitive, so they're able to get that property for less money.
All right, so let's talk about today's topic. It can be stressful. Talking about life, not so much the topic. Hopefully this will be helpful if you are dealing with stressful situations. You know, you talk about anytime you're involved in a move, selling of real estate, there's naturally going to be some stress involved with all that. In fact, moving in and of itself is one of life's top stresses. But then if you have a catalyst that happens to be a negative catalyst, like divorce, for example, oh my gosh. Now, you've dealt with countless numbers of situations like this over the years. If someone is dealing with already a very emotional situation, difficult situation, and then you got the real estate component, what's your thought process going into it about the best way to handle that situation?
You know, when you look at the top stresses in life, you have death, divorce, buying and selling, any type of real estate transaction where you're personally involved, your single family primary residence. When you put that real estate with either of those other two options, an estate situation or a divorce situation, everything is amplified. And the emotions that are involved cause really a stress that most people have never experienced at one time. And we see that kind of come out in the way they make decisions and the challenges that come up and how they're able to kind of ebb and flow with a normal transaction that's coming along.
Yeah, my first rule of money, never let your money and emotions cross paths. And there's a reason for it. When we make emotional decisions and money is involved, we often make mistakes. What are some of the mistakes that people can make when it comes to emotional real estate choices?
Well, I think the first thing is just not understanding what they're mourning, why they're having such emotions. And I think when you kind of deal with that, it does help kind of deal with the day-to-day issues coming up when buying, selling, dealing with all this stuff. I mean, one of the things that we have realized in dealing with so many estates, which often, many times can become kind of a conflict like a divorce with siblings and a divorce situation, is that they're not just dealing with what's happening right now. They're mourning the past, so all their memories and all the things that they built together. The present, how life is going to change. Life, many times in a divorce, changes dramatically for those involved. And then the loss of their dreams or their future. And so we're dealing really with 3 losses on top of one experience. And most people aren't really understanding that it is about past, present, and future. And that's why it can be so overwhelming for people.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that hits home. I went through a divorce, had to get involved in real estate, and I did make a series of bad decisions. And you and Steve actually ended up helping me through some of that, along with my wife, Ashley, with one of her mistakes as well. So I know firsthand that you are experts in dealing with this. So your first piece of advice, if we're having to make a real estate transaction and there's a negative catalyst.
So the first thing that you need to do is to select an agent that has experience in dealing with stressful situations, and most importantly, that can remain neutral. We really don't get involved in the he said, she said world, because as soon as we do, we're not going to align with what's best for them both. We're going to kind of pick and choose, and that does not benefit the real estate transaction at all. So I don't really care what happened. What I care about is helping them maximize the opportunity and get them out of it as whole as possible.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You don't really know how someone's going to deal with adversity until they face it. And if you haven't had somebody that has that kind of experience, you don't want to find out that they're not good at handling adversity once you get there. All right, so if we have reached out to an agent like you that can help us through this type of situation, step 1, it's progress. Now what?
Now we need to remember, and this is really, really hard to do in the moment, that cooperation with the sales process means a better result, period. And that benefits everyone, not just one side. So looking for where you can find areas to agree on and focus on that versus focusing on that one little sticking point, and being honest about what's important and why it's important, and let us find a solution of how to make that happen. When people dig their heels in and they say, I'm not going to do whatever, it does impact the experience and, let's face it, the money and the end result that people get. And it feels good maybe in that moment. However, that doesn't mean it feels good long term.
Yeah, no question. The only thing that matters at the end is, are you going to have the successful outcome you're looking for? And Lisa, really, when we reach out to you, if we follow your advice, you're not setting us up for failure. What is your evaluation process as a real estate agent in dealing with these types of stressful situations? Obviously, there are a lot of similarities from one divorce situation to another, for example, but they're all unique to the individuals involved. So how do you handle the approach?
Well, first of all, it's understanding what people want to have happen, and is that possible? We had a recent client that one did not live in the home, and that's very typical. One did not live in the home, and the other one needed certain things to happen in order for them to transition. So knowing that, we were able to basically put together an offer that accomplished both what the person who had moved out wanted, which was the most money for the property, and we got multiple offers over asking price, and we were able to help the person that needed to transition with their goals. So understanding what people need, why they need it, and then putting a plan together that allows that to happen. And if they're not cohesive, having a conversation about, okay, how do we deal with the fact that we have two people wanting two different things?
Which often is the case. In my situation with my first wife, she was fine living in the house we were living in. I was not. And so that was one of those situations. And I made a bad decision at that point. Sure. Because I wanted to put an end to that situation because I didn't think it was healthy for me, which I still believe is the case. But there's a right and a wrong way to go about dealing with these things. And I can tell you the implications are significant if you make those mistakes. All right, so the cooperation, that is good. Now what?
So when you decide to go ahead and start showing the property, having the home lose that feeling or appearance that it's distressed is really key.
One thing for us to be stressed, another thing for our house to look like it, huh?
Yes. So considering staging is really important. Moving things around. Empty closets is never a good thing. So if you have maybe a closet full of stuff, kind of move it around and make it feel like, okay, this is supposed to look this way. Because motivation, especially in some of those price points where maybe it's a little more competitive there's fewer buyers and more sellers, you don't want to give them any insight as to what's really going on because a great agent and a buyer will use that against you and it will cost you money. So we will help you come up with a way to maybe inexpensively make the home feel like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Do you think staging is always a better outcome than just an empty house?
It depends. It depends on really kind of what is expected in the product and the price point. Statistically, staged homes do sell for more money. They sell faster. And sometimes it's just not possible. And so there's some ways to virtually stage it. So online people can see what is possible and yet not have to put furniture in there. That's another economic.
Cool.
Yeah, it's an economic way to do it. And especially if a room is hard to figure out, a buyer can look at the picture and go, oh, that's what we could do with this space. So there's ways to do it. What I can tell you, if you're living in the home, having rooms and having space empty is never a great idea because it kind of causes people to go, what's going on? So we're going to help you with those things to make sure that the showing experience is better. And then my advice for all sellers is not to be there during showings. And especially if you loved your home and this is an emotionally hard time, they're going to feel that. And it's going to be harder on you. And the buyers are going to take advantage of that, whether they realize they are or they aren't. So go away for the showing, go outside, take a walk. Don't be there. It's going to be a lot better experience for the person living in the home.
You just reminded me so many situations I had when I was younger, some of which were awkward. I do remember being around the house and the house is being shown. And there's one time you would have been proud of me, though, Lisa, because I actually did perhaps sell the home. We had some people when my dad was traveling and my mom had to deal with something that showed up at a house unannounced that my parents were looking to sell. And I let them in and I answered their questions and they bought the house.
Wow,
so
good job.
Yeah. But otherwise, extremely awkward.
It is awkward. And they're opening your closets and they're opening your cupboards and then they're making comments. So they either are exceptionally kind and they make comments that make you think they love your house and they're going to buy it, right? And then they really don't like the floor plan. They're just being kind. Or they aren't really aware that you're there and they just say whatever they think, which can also be a little bit painful. You know, one of the things we see, Brian, quite often in the divorce situation is people are making mistakes and they're making decisions in the moment.
Yep.
And then a year or two later, they're calling me going, oops, what did I do?
Sure.
So we put together a lot of great educational videos that over a course of about a month, we're going to give you information that is valuable in our eyes, at least to ask yourself the right questions, talk to your attorney about, really look for that resource. And so it's on our website. You can opt in. We don't want to spam you, but certainly if you want those videos, I've been hearing great feedback on them. And it's just things that's going to cause you to think and then really consider instead of just making that impulsive decision.
Well, that is great advice. And the Treus, again, they have plenty of it at the website. If you're not there, go to TreuRealEstate911.com. That is TreuRealEstate911.com. And the Treus are ready to help you. Buying, selling questions, always there at 561-972-8326. 561-972-8326. I'm Brian Mudd for Lisa Treu, and we'll see you next time.